Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
Hi, Sasha Wise here from Sasha Wise Speaks, and welcome back to my channel. It is good to be back and it's good to have you back. So welcome. So today I want to talk about social media addiction because it is a real problem, and I'm sorry, I experience it and I know many other people in my circle who also experience it. Even if they don't say it, I know. I just know. Okay. So, what is social media addiction? I feel like social media addiction is when you can't get off your phone, even internet addiction, because I feel like it goes hand in hand. But social media is like the more potent form, I would say, of internet addiction. Can't get off your phone. You are constantly checking social media. You get anxiety when you haven't got your phone with you to check social media. You know, when it impairs your life in some way, and that could also be emotionally. You know, you could impair your life emotionally. There have been studies that show that in certain social medias begin with F, which shall not be mentioned in case I get sued. With certain social medias, that if they put in certain posts, they could affect your mood and the outcome of how you feel without you even realizing it. There's also massive correlations between using social media and levels of high depression, high anxiety, and levels of poor sleep and even car accidents, you know? Which is, I would like to know how that happened. If they're not using social media when they're driving, that's not very good. So, but even regardless of these kind of things, it's like, and you know, apparently when you put your social media, when you use it less, you get less depressed. You also get, you don't feel lonely anymore. You know, so this is quite big research that's being done. And the problem with addiction, people will be like, no, I'm not addicted though. It's just something I like to do. But that's the thing. The addict never really admits that they are addicted. It's very difficult for the addict to admit that they are addicted to something because it firstly takes a lot of vulnerability to admit that. Once you do admit that you are addicted, then you're more prone to change, or that is the next step to change something about your life. If you are using social media and it is making you miserable, you know, if it is impairing your life in any way and making you miserable, I would suggest that you come off that social media. And it's as simple as that. But you say, Sasha, it's not that simple. But every addict thinks that they can't live without their addiction. You know? Every addict thinks that. But it's an illusion. You can live without. It's not just an illusion. It's a brain chemistry thing as well. There are real dopamine hits that are happening in your brain when you are getting your likes and when you are posting a picture and you get good comments on it. There are dopamine hits happening because we are made as creatures to be socialized into society. So the more socialized or the more popular we appear, the more dopamine hits we get in the brain. So this is the real biohack, brain hack that Silicon Valley has done, you know, and they purposely say they try to design the software to make it the most addictive as possible. That's what they're trying to do. For example, they do things like variable ration scheduling. So do you know, like psychology, when you have those rats and you reward the rats, but if you reward them with too much frequency or with too much structure, maybe you won't get the best response from the rats in training them to do what you want them to do. But if you're variable with your reward systems, and the rats don't know when the reward is coming, they're more likely to be able to be trained. They're training you like lab rats. So like even the I word, like they're doing things like they withhold some of your likes. So they know that likes are dopamine hits. So in the beginning you post a picture and then you don't see any likes for a bit and you're like, oh, okay, what's going on? And then they give you the likes at a later date or later time, maybe later that day. And they will give you these likes, but they've withheld the likes, and they've admitted to this. So they've withheld the likes to make you more in a state, maybe more programmable, more able to be seduced by advertising. You're in a sadder place, so you're able to be more manipulated by them. And that is the issue now, because we are now the products that are being manipulated, and the advertisers are now the king lords that are with the money that are paying these social media platforms to manipulate us. And when our behavior gets modified, that's a benefit to these advertising people. So I personally don't want to be a pawn by any massive social media giants. Like, that's not why I've been put on the earth, to be a pawn, you know. And I feel like it does affect our spirituality. Yes, of course it does. You know, if you are too addicted to your phone to even pray, and you're not getting the same dopamine hit in prayer, that's a problem, isn't it? Because prayer will give you a sense of peace and fulfilling, and you know, but it's very much like it will bring calmness to you. But maybe you're constantly, if you're addicted, all you really want is the trigger. You just want the hit. I don't know how drug addicts do it. You want the hit, you know? And this is where, I don't know. So when I came off Instagram for like, I can't even count how many times I've come off Instagram, but when I came off Instagram a few days ago, I was just like, I felt good again. I felt peaceful again. I felt, previous to that moment, my brain was so consumed with social media that I was just not even really able to focus and not really able to like read a book. I wasn't able to read a book because my brain was just always checking social media. Apparently there's this thing that according to neuroscientists, that whenever you say you put your phone down, oh, sorry about that. I had the parcel to pick up and all that shebang. So what we're saying, I do not want to be a pawn. I do not want to be a pawn. I don't want to be manipulated. I don't want to be manipulated by anyone or anything. That's not why I'm here on this earth. Like I said, I think it affects our spirituality. It affects our concept of freedom, you know, and even our concept of free will. You know, when the oops, I think that delivery guy can't get enough of me. Bless him. Anyway, oh, funny. So anyway, where was I? Oh, I've lost my train of thought. I'm just, oh dear. Okay, so where was I? So, let me just. So, like I was saying, so I don't want to be a pawn. I don't want to be manipulated by anyone. There's statistics that say things like there's more smarter and analytical thinkers spend less time on their actual smartphone. Like, personally, that sounds really appealing to me. You know, and apparently it's because I think personally that you just give your brain a bit of space to really ponder deeply about things. When you read a book, you're more likely to absorb the information from a book than you are, say, when you're reading it from a smartphone. I feel like, I don't know what it is. The brain, just the way that it works. Like, maybe the brain just gets lazy. Maybe it's information overload. I'm not sure. But the truth be told, all these dopamine hits on us, which are making us into like social media drug addicts, are not good for our brain or in our sense of peace or our sense of well-being. And many people, especially during lockdown, are being probably more addicted to their smartphone than they usually would be. And I think it's having a negative effect. You know, I personally found in the beginning of lockdown, I was really not attached to my phone at all. I had a much better experience than this last lockdown where my phone's been in my right hand all the time. on my mental well-being and on my happiness levels and on my levels of just being able to think deeply and, ponder about things, I feel like I think there's ways that they are manipulating us that we don't even know how the full depth of how they are manipulating us. That is the scary part. There are massive data farms, as far as that I can see, of computers, of them when they've collected your data and they're storing it in these massive data farms. And you can look it up, Google it. Google the big social medias and their data farms, because they're collecting every single and profiling all the information about you, how long, you read a certain post, just different things. I think they're probably collecting more than we're even aware of. I think that the rabbit holes goes pretty deep, in my opinion. But regardless of their intentions towards us, I feel like we have to be one step ahead and be able to outsmart them. If they are choosing to manipulate us in ways that we don't even know how, we're at a disadvantage here, aren't we? We're the ones at a disadvantage. So we have to get to the point where we are smarter than them. Either we know exactly what they're doing and we can, be one step ahead of them. So it takes knowledge, or if we can't, if our bodies are too biohackable, we just have to abstain, from the ones that are affecting you negatively. That's just my opinion in this situation at this moment in time. That's where I'm at. I'm not saying anyone else has to do this. I'm just giving different options and different thoughts, and maybe just showing a different way. If you are genuinely struggling emotionally, maybe just go on a social media fast. I mentioned this in my other video, but just try it and see if it improves in your mood anyway. If it does improve your mood, then maybe consider making it permanent. There are studies that show that cortisol, which is the stress hormone in the body, is able to be produced even when you don't have your phone. So if you're used to checking your phone, when you're not checking it, this hormone gets produced, and it will trigger the anxiety part of your brain to make you go check your phone. That is how deep the rabbit hole goes. There are things happening in your brain that you're not even aware of, that I'm not even aware of, that the scientists are not even aware of. But it is creating a society that have more mental health problems than ever before, that have more issues and division with each other, because everyone's in their own little group, according to their feed and their timeline, in their own echo chamber, and you're not getting the information outside the echo chamber that challenges you. So you think the world is a certain way, but it's just an illusion. It's not reality. So, I'm thinking about this very deeply at this moment in time. Maybe this is just more of a thought process, this video, than a conclusion. But it feels right to me to let some social medias go right now. It just feels right to me. It feels completely right. I don't want to be manipulated anymore. I feel like I'm a human being. I'm not here to be manipulated. If I feel manipulated, I will go away. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Because I am actually a very free spirit. I'm a very free-spirited person. I'm all about the freedom in my heart, and a bit of a hippie at times, just a bit like free-flowing. I like freedom, and my desire in my life is to be completely free. If I can achieve that desire, I feel like I would have succeeded in my life. And if anything is trying to make me less free, I have issues with it. I genuinely have issues with it. And I will change my behavior accordingly. That's my principle of what I believe, and what I want from my life is complete, utter freedom in every way. I want to be able to have these social media tools to serve us, not us serving them. That is the difference. Right now, sometimes it feels like we're serving them. They're making a profit on our backs. They're making a profit based upon our mental health issues, and making us sad for their profit, or happy for their profit for a moment, happy for a moment. And then the sadness kicks in, because of the dopamine rush. If you study addiction, it goes up the cycle and it crashes down. So you may be high for a little moment, but the crash is just awful. Awful. There's a reason why people will want to end their lives over social media. It's not just mental, it's also biological with this crash that comes. You know? I feel like unless you are able to really use social media as a tool that can serve you, and the way that you know it's a tool and you're not being used by it is that you don't even fall into the algorithm. That you don't care about the algorithm anymore. You're like, you know what? I'm going to do what works for me. That is one way of knowing that you're free from these social medias. If you're genuinely caring too much about the algorithm, it's like they've modified your behavior already, haven't they? Because you're changing the way that you are according to their algorithm. Why should you have to change who you are according to their algorithm? That's not right, is it? It's not right. That's one way of knowing if you're free or not. You know? If you want to have a break and you feel so compelled that you can't take a break from social media because it's going to affect the algorithm, then I think that you have a problem with social media addiction. I genuinely do. And, said out of love, like, you need to be able to let go of these things because they're just, real connections are real connections, body, soul, spirit connections. That's real. This social media life, I mean, to be honest, it is real, but it's not in a way. I mean, I am the kind of person that would rather text than call. That's my kind of nature, I'm not going to lie. With most people. So I'm talking from that perspective, that I would rather text you than call you because it just suits my nature more. But at the same time, I recognize a whole relationship based just upon text is not a real relationship. Imagine if you had a husband and all you did was text him and you never saw him and it was just text. That would not be a relationship. That would be a pen pal, a digital pen pal, And that's the thing. There's a massive difference between real and fake. I think many people even have forgotten how to really connect. I feel like even you've forgotten or I don't know. They're so used to connecting in a shallow way, they don't know how to connect in a deep way any longer. They're not used to connecting deeply anymore. I think personally, people are just used to seeing the 2D image and assessing you upon that. And that's it. And that's just not how life is. Life just is very complicated and people go deep. There's a massive depth to people. To most people, there's a depth. And you have to be able to spend time to really get to know somebody and to really assess who they are and to assess their character and assess just like compatibility and things like that. Even in a friendship, you can't really have a friendship until you go into certain stressful situations and then you get to really see what your friendship is really made of. Like, this is real life. Like, this is real life. Real life is not just pictures on the social media and then heart and then comment. If only life was that simple, my friend. Life is not that simple. Life is much more complicated than that. Anyway, so to conclude this video, I feel like we need to assess if we are addicted to social media, if this is something that is genuinely a problem for us. And if it is, I think you need to be honest with yourself and tell, and really speak to yourself in a way that doesn't condemn yourself, but just makes you feel like that you can create change in your life and you can have a positive mindset in your life, but there may be certain changes you have to do first. Maybe, you may not think social media has an effect on you, but if you have any sort of mood that is not completely balanced, I think you should try to come away from social media for a short period of time and see if that helps in any way, I think you need to be aware of the addictiveness of social media and you need to be aware that these hits are happening in your brain, whether you like them or not. and these cortisol levels are being produced, and that creates high stress, which leads to anxiety and depression and all these different things. So yeah, I just think we need to be very cautious and very wary at this point, very observant, and very well read about the topic. I don't think we have the luxury to be ignorant about this topic when it's affecting all of our lives. Basically, a group of people in Silicon Valley that are, mostly white males, who are basically designing software that affects the whole of the world and affects all of our behaviors and mental states. That's what's happening in the world right now. If you're not aware, that's what's going on. So I really highly recommend that you watch on Netflix a program called The Social Dilemma. I've watched it for the second time now. And again, every time, it's basically about these software developers that have designed the software, and they talk about it from that perspective and how addictive and dangerous it is, So watch that. And just maybe read up about it a little bit and see where you are. This is not a conclusive video because I haven't made any definite conclusions about this topic yet. I'm just going with the flow with it and seeing how I feel. If I feel good, I'm going to stick to what makes me feel good. And right now, that's not being on certain social medias. I don't feel good on certain social medias. So if you want to connect with me, you might have to search me out in the comments below, and that's it. It may get to that point, because I love having conversations with people online and stuff, but I feel like it has to be have boundaries with those levels of conversations, because otherwise you spend your whole time on the social media and you will stop living. I don't want to stop living. So I don't know. I want to hear from anyone who's suffering from any sort of addiction to social media or the internet. I want to hear from anyone who even has any slight, maybe they don't know, maybe they're still questioning it. Just comment below if you have any questions for me. If you want me to do any more videos about this topic, I'm more than happy to, as I'm discovering and as I'm learning myself. So yeah, this has been an interesting video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know, this video's been a bit sober, I feel like. A bit sober, because it's not a fun topic to say that, we're all being manipulated by these puppet masters, is it? And to cut the strings. And actually, who's able to actually fully detach from social media this day and age? Who is actually fully able to detach? Not many people that I know. I don't even know if I could fully detach. I don't know. But just be very aware that they are manipulating us. Be very aware they are doing experiments behind the scenes to make us more suggestible to their adverts and to change our behaviours. As long as you're very aware of that and that is very clear in your mind, maybe you'll still get addicted to it, but maybe the critical part of your brain can analyse it from afar. I don't know. I don't have the answers. But a lot of people are addicted. They say 86% of people in America are addicted to social media and their emails. And I think we can apply that to the developed world. We can definitely apply that. It's not just America. 86% are constantly checking. So that's most of the people, almost everyone. And we have to just be very aware that these neurotransmitters in our brain are very powerful, and these hormones are extremely powerful. They basically direct all of our behaviors. Yes, we have free will to some extent, but then when these hormones kick in, talk to a heroin addict and talk about free will. There's very little, because the strong dopamine hits have occurred. And, when your brain gets overwhelmed by these different neurotransmitters, we can't say what the long-term effect is going to be on our brain. We don't actually know the long-term effect damage that could happen to our brain. Your brain is probably your most vital resource. You need to keep your brain active and you need to keep your brain healthy. That involves food. That involves what you consume. Definitely. That involves, stimulating it. Just my 2 cents. I don't know. Are we living in the Matrix? I think we are. I think we are actually living in the Matrix. I think this is the Matrix that we are living in. I feel like we need to be unplugged. And I feel like, I don't know, we need to be reborn. Reborn into reality. We need to be reborn into reality. Because right now, we are living in a fantasy world. And actually, I remember a few years ago, I felt very much like some social medias that I was on was more attractive to me than reality. So that's why I spent so much time on there. Everything was perfectly filtered, and it was more attractive to me than reality. So I'm just saying that this is real and virtual reality is going to become a thing. And maybe some people are going to end up wanting to spend more time in virtual reality than in real reality. This is the future, guys. We have to, get our minds right from this point. We can't just go down the rabbit hole so deeply and then we don't even know where we end up, because they have plans for where we should end up, and it probably, in the words of Morpheus, for us to be their slaves. Just saying. And it could just be mental slaves. It could be otherwise. But I'm saying, I don't want to be anyone's slave. I want to be a free thinker. I want to be a critical thinker. I want to be an objective thinker. So I am going to protect my brain at all costs. And I'm not going to become a zombie, because they're trying to hack my brain into making me a zombie by their behavior modifications. And you may think I'm extreme, but I think I'm seeing things clearly, personally. I think I'm seeing things clearer than I've ever seen them. And I feel happier not being on certain social medias. I can't explain it. I feel happier. More joyful. More able to pray. You'd be surprised. When you're addicted to these social medias, literally, you're about to pray, and it's like, ching, and you're like, oh, just do it quick. Sorry, God, just a second. I'll come back in a second. Okay. I've done it. I don't know if anyone else has done it. Comment below. But I've done it. And God must be very upset with me when I do that. But I think he also understands that we are addictive creatures and we are not perfect and we can do things like that. And I think he's got a lot of grace with us. But I mean, come on, who wants to be talking to God in prayer and then having to check their phone because they're addicted to their phone instead? Who wants to do that? I don't want to do that. I think it's disrespectful to God. And it's disrespectful to people as well, if you're with people, to be constantly on your phone and the person's right in front of you. So this is the state that we're coming into. We're coming into this state of just... There's a guy, a book that I was reading. Let me see if I can find his name. Jawan Lanier. And it talks about 10 reasons to why to come off all the social medias. And good book. I'll put the title of the book in there. But he was talking about, he has a theory that we either got pack mentality or we have lone wolf mentality. And he thinks that social media basically triggers off this pack mentality. Well, in the pack mentality, we're thinking a lot about hierarchy. We're thinking, where do we place in the hierarchical structure? Where are we placed? Are we popular? Are we not popular? And we think tribes. We think tribally. So we think, oh, I'm part of this group. And this group is against this group, So it becomes this sort of war type, in my opinion, mentality. So maybe a politician who's always trying to be polite as well. And, always trying to fit in and always trying to say the right things. So I think social media brings out that side of us. Whilst if you have the lone wolf mentality, he says that he thinks that's more like scientific people who are more artists. They spend time alone with their own thoughts and they come up with original conclusions and they come up with originality based upon their thoughts because they're not being influenced by the wider environment. And I think that's very profound. And they don't look at things so much so black and white. They look at things more this is a solution to this problem, you know, that maybe other people from different tribes can have the same solution, you know. Not everyone's the lone wolf, but I feel like when I am the lone wolf, I'm a lot more creative, let's just say. When I am part of the pack, it drains me. That's my personal perspective. Like, I get drained by the pack. The pack drains me because it's like you're constantly thinking about, you know, all the different dynamics of what it takes to be in a social group. That's constant, you know. So if you're on the social media, you're thinking, what's this person going to think of this comment? What's this, you know, impact of this going to have? Like, why is no one, you know, responding to this? And it just becomes this like cycle and this downward spiral. And I'm at the point where I'm like, enough, enough. I just want to be free. I enjoy my own company a lot. So I don't see a problem with spending time on my own and going deeper within myself and finding answers within myself, because I feel like that is maybe the best way to know yourself, and the best way to have a conversation with yourself is to go deep within yourself. So I don't know, I feel like maybe having too many influences on the outside can sometimes block that process. Sometimes having too many outside voices can muddle everything up a little bit in your mind. I feel like we need to be clear thinkers, because what's happening in the world is crazy right now. Let's be honest, it's crazy. I could never have predicted what happened in 2020 of like what actually happened. I couldn't have predicted it, even if I tried. So what I'm trying to say is that with all this craziness, we just have to be so much more clearer in our thinking, because we don't need to be seduced. That's the right word, seduction. Seduction is alluring, and seduction is very much like you feel like you have no self-control. And that's where the social medias have really pinpointed us. And we feel like we have no self-control in picking up our phones and checking. Like, I remember, before, when I tried to do a fast on one particular social media, I remember picking it up automatically and going to it, even during the fast, like pressing it and thinking, oh, no, I'm fasting for it. Because it was just so automatic. If you've got a moment, if I've got a second for myself, press that social media, because they have programmed me. They have programmed me to do that. Can we just say it as we see it? I've been programmed by their technologically advanced softwares. There are courses in these universities that show you how to modify behavior based upon technology. They teach people these things, you know, and then people are constantly evolving from that point. So why do you think that you are above all this manipulation? You're not above it. I'm sorry. And that's where it becomes interesting, and you have to be real with yourself to really see it for what it is. That no one is above being manipulated, really. The only way you're above it is if you detach from it and have a clear outlook. I'm not saying at no point in the future can I ever attach back. I may attach back, you know, just saying, because I'm human. But at this moment in time, it's not working for me in the slightest. It's just not. It's not working for me. It's way more negatives to the positives. I've worked it out in my brain, and my brain's telling me, computer says no. But hey, this is the end of the video. Please comment below. I want to hear from you guys regarding this topic. What do you feel about the current state of social media addiction? Do you think it's a real thing? Do you think it's not a real thing? Talk to me, friend. Talk to me. Yes, I want to hear from you. I want to have a conversation with you. So, this has been interesting and thought-provoking, I hope. Come back in a few days and I'll have another video for you. Yes, who knows what the topic's going to be, because I'm constantly just thinking. So we'll see what this brain comes up with, this new clearly thinking brain, hopefully, what it comes up with. And yes, I hope you stay tuned and I hope you enjoy the video. I would love any feedback you've got for me. And yes, please subscribe, please like if you like the video, and I will speak to you soon.